Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. This is going to be kind of a fun book rant, I suppose, and I saw this originally on a different booktuber channel by the name of Jesse the Reader. He is absolutely hilarious. Please check out his stuff. I will leave a link to his channel below. And this is talking about things I hate about my favourite books. And I know you're probably thinking, if you love them so much, then why are there things you hate? Well, there is no such thing as a flawless book. There's always going to be something that, oh, I really love this book, I really love these characters, the writing was amazing, but there was just one thing that grated on me a little bit, or, oh, this book would be absolutely perfect if it wasn't for this little thing, and that is what we're going to be looking at. And I was actually surprised of how many books, book preferences me and Jesse the Reader actually have in common, and I'm living for it. Good choices, good choices. And this is kind of really hard because as much as I love these books, and I know that I don't think that I'd be able to match them in terms of quality and stuff like that. I'm not saying that because I've pointed out things that I've hated about them that I could have done them better. I know I could not have. This is just me venting, I suppose. And we all love a good vent, don't we? So let's get started with a series that I have mentioned a few times already, and I will probably mention many times in the future. A series of unfortunate events. I adore this series. I adore the way it's written. I love the three main characters, the Baudelaires. I adore them, I adore them. And the mystery and the puzzles, the ciphers, the way everything connects together in this really over-the-top way, it really grabs your attention. And the way it doesn't hold any punches, like it's a kid's book, but people die in very grim ways. It's an unfortunate a series of unfortunate events for a reason, and I love it. It's just, you have so much build-up for questions that never get answered, and it just leaves you feeling a bit empty. Not to mention, I really can't stand how the majority of adults are written in this book. I know it's sort of played to the idea that the children are the smart ones, that only this secret organisation are the smart ones and everybody else is an idiot. But then you have people in these organisations that treat the children like they're stupid and for no reason other than plot convenience. And it just really grates on me. You have these amazing main characters, you have these amazing kids. Why don't other characters get the same development treatment? It just doesn't make sense to me. And where is this sun coming from? So yeah, amazing series. I love it with all my heart, but the lack of answers and the way certain characters are written just for the sake of plot convenience just really gets to me. Oh, The Book Thief. The Book Thief, I love. It is such a beautiful story, and I still haven't seen the movie. I don't know, I want to, but the book was so good. I loved it so much. It was so grim and dark and but poetic at the same time, and you fall in love with these characters, and God, the heartache but also the hope, and the fact that it's written from Death's perspective is just so interesting. I could go on and on praising this book, I really could, but that is not why we're here. There are just times that really grated on me where it just takes a little bit too long to get to the point. I don't know, you'll have these amazing descriptions and these amazing storytelling moments, but then you realise this has been going on for a while. Are we going to change scenes anytime soon, or is this leading somewhere? No, okay, let's carry on. Oh, we're still going, okay. It's so well done, it's so well written, but there are times when scenes just tend to drag on and don't really seem to have much of a point to them, and that kind of slows down the story as a whole. It's not meant to be like a big action book or anything like that, it's just, you could have gotten to the point a little bit faster. Another one I have talked about many times and will definitely mention again and again and again, Six of Crows. God, the action, the world building, the magic systems, the characters, the development. Oh, and the fact that it has a sequel and now there's like spin-offs coming out. And I love it so much. I could rant and rave and praise this book to no end, and I would love to get more people to read it, but with the pandemic going on, it's hard to be like, hey, borrow my book. So I love it. Actually, no, saying that, one of my friends did borrow it like right before the pandemic started, and she hasn't been able to give it back to me, but I hope she's enjoying it. This is similar to The Book Thief in that it's just, the pacing issue, like right at the beginning. It has such a slow start and you spend ages being like, okay, we have a lot of characters to deal with, we have a lot of character introductions, I know this person now, I've remembered this person's name and they've got this characteristic, so I'm gonna remember them, but then suddenly the actual plot starts and you only actually needed to remember 2 of these people, and then you've got a whole new load of people to suddenly remember, and you're now unsure whether you should keep note of them because the people that you just spent this X amount of time with are no longer relevant or dead. So it kind of breaks your trust a little bit of who you should spend your time getting to know, and in a way that's good because it shows that all characters are given a similar amount of treatment, but then after that they kind of don't. After that, it's very clear, these are the main characters, these are just background people you don't really need to worry about too much. And that sort of changes the shift, and it's very jarring at the beginning, and it just takes that little bit longer. Like, you could have spent, I don't know, like 30 less pages talking about these other characters at the beginning and just glanced over them to then get to the point. It's just a bit of a slow start for me, but once it gets going, it does not stop. It is no question that I am a big Harry Potter fan. I cannot stand J.K. Rowling. She is a bitch, and I do not agree with many of the things she's been saying lately. No. But I do love the Harry Potter series. I love the series, just not the person who created it, and you are allowed to have that difference, if anybody was wondering. So in the Harry Potter series, my favourite of the books is Prisoner of Azkaban. Why do I love Prisoner of Azkaban out of all of them? Well, that's because that's when things start to shift. For the first 2 books you've had this, well, even for the first half, so the first 2.5 books, you have this sort of dynamic where, okay, Harry's miserable, he's gone to school, there's a mystery involving the Dark Lord, what's going on, he fixes it, he goes home, summer holidays start. The first 2 books have that formula. It is very repetitive, and it looks like it's going that way with the third one, Prisoner of Azkaban. It looks like it's going that way, but then you get to a point where the mood just shifts. Suddenly things are darker, you're starting to get backstory, you're starting to get more characters that are actually relevant to not only Harry's past, but Harry's parents' past, about Voldemort. You're really starting to get your teeth into what this real overarching mystery is, and I love that. It breaks the formula, it adds a new darker layer, it adds more dynamic to the characters, and this is where you start to realise things are about to go down. And that just keeps building and building, so by the time you get to the next book, Goblet of Fire, you know this ain't the same Hogwarts anymore, and I love that. But what do I hate about it? Again, you have to go through the first half of a very formulaic setting in order to get to that shift, but also Harry is a bit more of a dick in this book than he was in the last 2, and I can't really get behind that. Not as much as he is in later books, I'll admit, but this is when moody teenager Harry starts popping out. And I get it, he's 13, you know, hormonal changes and all stuff like that. Teenagers can be moody dicks. I was a moody dick as a teenager. I can still be a moody dick. But when you're trying to back up a main character and they're being a little bit of a shit and not in the fun way, I suppose. It's hard to kind of get that support, that reader support, and I don't know, it just made me more interested in all the other characters than it did Harry. The first Artemis Fowl. I love the Artemis Fowl series, and you know, I've just talked about how the main character was too much of a dick in one series, but then in this one he's designed like he's supposed to be the villain, like a child genius villain who doesn't give a damn about anybody else apart from his own means, and I love that. I love that he is that from the get-go. He is this, not evil, but he's supposed to be this villainous mastermind that just holds all of the puppet strings, and as the series goes on, you see this development, you see this morality start to set in, and how he's just not quite okay with it because he's so used to being this grim, conniving kid, and I love that development. But yes, we are talking about the first, and why I have an issue with it. It's just the fact that it's so obviously a setup story, and it's a great setup story, don't get me wrong. It still has plot, it still has great characters, it still has some kind of development, and it still has a great hook, not to mention incredible world building and setup. But the setup is where it's the setup that grates on me, because throughout the entire thing you are fully aware this isn't a one and done story. And it has that feel. When you're reading a book, you want to be on the edge of your seat because you want to be thinking, oh god, it's all supposed to end here. How is it going to end here? But even from the start, you know, just the way it translates as you're reading it, it doesn't feel that way. You are reading it thinking, yeah, this is a setup. This is a setup story. Other stories are going to have more adventure. Other stories are going to have more plot and meaning and lore. This is all just a build-up to what is going to be, and it does kind of take you out of the moment. If you went into it thinking that this was a one-and-done story, you'd be so confused by the halfway point thinking there's no way everything's going to get done, otherwise this is going to feel incredibly rushed and I'm not sure I can get behind this. But the fact that you know, oh, this is just a prologue. The entire book is a prologue. I think that's what my issue is, and I love origin stories, I really do, but this made it so obvious that it was a setup origin story prologue kind of thing. I just kind of wanted there to be a little bit more threat and impact in the first story, so that when it was revealed, oh, this isn't over, you were like, oh, okay, great, rather than, yeah, I know, let's just move on. I still love it though, I still love it, and I've reread it quite a few times, but yes. This one really took me by surprise, but in an amazingly stunning way, and that is The Night Circus. Oh, again, the, not steampunk, but slightly magic-y steampunk Victorian era with magic and a very clever magic system and this beautiful setting that just keeps on expanding, and incredible characters and a very frontward love story. And I'm not big on romance stories. This did not advertise itself as a romance, but it has this romance that's very front and center, as well as this magical challenge, as well as this gorgeous circus that just shows up, and it's all so beautiful. I cannot describe it any other way. Everything about it is beautiful and I love it, and I want to reread it again, but there's one thing that's stopping me. There are so many people to keep track of. Now, I love interweaving storylines where you're focusing on this person and how they're connected, but then they're also connected to someone else and they have a bit more of a backstory look into what's really going on with the mystery, so you're having a little peek into there, but then you see something that relates back to this other person. I love interweaving storylines. It just makes everything so much more cohesive and strong and just really expands on this world. But there are so many, and not all of them are relevant. at all, and you jump back and forth in time as well, which makes things even more complicated, because sometimes you're like, okay, I know where I am in this time period, I'm focusing on this one person, they're connected to persons A, B and C, okay, suddenly you're blasted off into the future, and then you're like, okay, so are these the descendants of the people that were connected to each other, or are they someone different? I think you're someone different. You're definitely a descendant of this person. Right, where are we going from here? Okay, I'm back on track. Boom, you're back on a different timeline completely, with still the same groups of people, but now they're talking to each other, and everything that you've really thought that you've nailed down has gone out the window. It's a beautiful, amazing, stunning story, and the actual main plot is brilliant, but it's just the fact that it jumps back and forth and there are so many people to keep track of that it's not an easy read, and it does take a lot longer to get through than it really should. And finally, the first in the Mistborn series, The Final Kingdom. Again, magic system, the world building, the characters, the twists and turns, the fact that there are so many more books to look forward to, but this still feels like a self-contained story, is great. I love it, I love it, I love it. I really, really do. And I have talked about this book in the past. I'm sure I used it as a book of the month at one point this year. Genuinely can't remember. I'll have to think about that. I think I have. Yeah? Yes. But again, this is a pacing issue that grates on me. I have no complaints about the characters, I have no complaints about the story, I have no complaints about the world building and magic system, but the pacing. There are times when, you know, you'll think, okay, so we're going to have like a training montage here, or we're going to see some development, or we're going to see how this, that and the other is developed, but then suddenly you're moved off into the future like a few months, and you feel like you've missed a lot of stuff because now suddenly someone is a badass at doing whatever it is they were crap at doing before, and they're in the middle of a mission that you have no idea what this mission is supposed to be, but it treats you as if you're supposed to understand what's going on, and it just kind of feels like these time jumps don't make a lot of sense. And don't get me wrong, if they had kept, if they hadn't put the time jumps in there, then this would have been a much longer book. And I understand why time jumps are necessary, and in certain places they are, but there are other times when it kind of feels like you're just a little bit lost and we've missed out on a lot of information that we could have really used, so thank you for that. But other than that, fantastic book, have no complaints, I adore it. So yeah, those are just a handful. I have many more favourite books. I mean, I don't have like a favourite book, but I have many on my favourites list that range between rank, you know, S rank and B rank, that kind of thing, if you want to get technical. But I don't want to list all of them right here because this video would be way too long, and you know, it might be fun to make a part 2 if you guys enjoyed this. So yeah, those are things that I really hate about books that I really, really love, and this was really hard to write, but at the same time it was kind of fun, so yeah, take away what you will from this. If you want to give it a go, please do. If you want to list below in the comments what your favourite books are, but things you hate about them, I'd love to hear it. I love having a good book rant. But yeah, I'm going to end this here before I go on even longer. This was really fun. I'll probably make a part 2 at some point. No idea when, but yeah. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you soon. Goodbye, my scribblers.